Welcome to Secrets in the Shadows, where we uncover the darkest stories that hide beneath the surface. My name is William, and today, we're diving deep into a case that is as heartbreaking as it is shocking. It's the story of Collier Landry, an 11-year-old boy whose courage helped bring justice after the unthinkable happened. Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. This story involves themes of murder, domestic violence, and trauma. If you're sensitive to these topics, please watch carefully. And if you find this story as captivating as we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story here on Secrets in the Shadows. Now let's begin. Imagine you're 11 years old. It's a cold winter evening in Mansfield, Ohio. Your family, a father, a mother, and you, are supposed to be together for the holidays, but everything changes in the blink of an eye. For Collier Landry, this was his reality. Collier was a happy, outgoing boy who loved his mom, Noreen Boyle, dearly. His father, Dr. John Boyle, was a well-known doctor, successful on the outside, but inside the home, things were far from perfect. At first glance, the Boyles seemed like a typical suburban family, but beneath that picture-perfect facade, tensions were building, and they would soon explode into something unthinkable. Noreen Boyle, Collier's mother, was a kind and loving woman. She adored her son more than anything in the world. But her marriage to Dr. John Boyle was falling apart. John, once a respected doctor, was leading a double life. For years, Dr. Boyle had been unfaithful to Noreen. One of his most notable affairs was with a woman named Sherry Lee Campbell, a nurse with whom he worked. Sherry was unaware of the horrific lengths John would go to keep his life in order. Their relationship caused enormous tension between Noreen and John, and it's believed that Noreen had finally reached her breaking point. Noreen had started telling friends she was planning to divorce John and take Collier with her. But divorce would threaten John's finances, his reputation, and his control, and that for him was unacceptable. On the night of December 30th, 1989, the quiet of the Boyle home was shattered. Collier, just 11 years old, was asleep in his room when he awoke to a sound. It was a thud, something heavy hitting the ground. Then came silence. Confused and scared, Collier listened, but there was nothing. He wanted to check on his mother, but something stopped him. He stayed in bed, his young mind racing with fear and uncertainty. Meanwhile, in the basement of the Boyle home, a horrific act had occurred. John Boyle had strangled Noreen to death in a premeditated plan to rid himself of his wife. He carried her lifeless body into the trunk of his car and drove to the empty house he had recently purchased. There, he dug a shallow grave in the basement, poured concrete over her, and tried to erase the evidence of his crime. The next morning, Collier's mother, Noreen, was gone. John Boyle, his father, told him that his mother had gone on a trip. But Collier knew that couldn't be true. His mother would never leave him, especially without saying goodbye. John's behavior grew stranger. He sent Collier to stay with family friends while he handled things. But even at 11 years old, Collier refused to accept his father's lies. Deep down, he knew something had happened to his mother, and he wasn't going to let it go. Collier started telling adults around him that something was wrong. His bravery and persistence forced the police to investigate. For such a young child, his ability to speak up was extraordinary. The police quickly turned their attention to John Boyle. Why had he purchased an empty house? What was he hiding? Investigators brought cadaver dogs to the new property, a house in Erie, Pennsylvania, where John Boyle had been spotted. The basement was quiet and unassuming, but when the dogs reacted near the concrete floor, the truth began to surface. The team carefully broke through the concrete and unearthed a shallow grave. Buried beneath was Noreen Boyle, Collier's mother, still wearing the clothes she had been in that night. She had been strangled, and the reality of the crime was clear. John Boyle had murdered his wife, driven her body to this house, and buried her under cement in a cold, calculated attempt to hide his crime. The discovery was horrifying. Collier's worst fears were confirmed, but his bravery had brought the truth to light. His mother's body was found because he refused to stop fighting for her. The trial of Dr. John Boyle was a media sensation. At the center of it all was a young boy, 12-year-old Collier Landry, whose voice became a beacon of truth in a sea of lies. When Collier took the stand, the room fell silent. He was small, yet his presence was commanding. He stood tall as he looked out at the courtroom, his father sitting just feet away. For nearly an hour, Collier described the thud he heard that night, the lies his father had told him, and the changes in his father's behavior. His voice didn't waver. Even when recalling painful memories, Collier spoke with clarity and confidence. He told the court how he had always felt a distance from his father, a coldness that only grew darker after his mother's disappearance. Tears rolled down the faces of jurors and spectators as they listened. Collier's courage was extraordinary. He became the linchpin of the prosecution's case, a child who refused to let his mother's death be forgotten or covered up. In that moment, Collier was more than just a witness. He was a hero. After days of testimony, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. Dr. John Boyle was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Justice had been served, but the cost was immeasurable. Collier, just 12 years old, had lost both of his parents. His mother was gone forever, and his father, the man who should have protected him, had become the source of his greatest pain. The courtroom erupted with relief. But for Collier, the healing journey was only beginning. Collier Landry refused to let tragedy define him. Over the years, he grew into a resilient, determined man who used his trauma to inspire others. In 2018, Collier released the documentary A Murder in Mansfield, where he returned to the places that haunted him, confronted his father in prison, and explored his path to forgiveness and healing. Today, Collier hosts a powerful podcast, Moving Past Murder, where he shares his journey and creates a space for survivors of trauma, abuse, and loss to heal together. He's become an advocate for truth and resilience, proving that even the darkest moments can lead to light. While Collier has forgiven his father in his heart, their relationship remains fractured. Dr. John Boyle continues to serve his sentence, yet Collier's strength has allowed him to move forward, a testament to his incredible bravery and spirit. The story of Collier Landry is one of tragedy, but it's also a story of resilience and justice. At just 11 years old, Collier stood up for the truth and refused to let his mother's murder go unsolved. If this story moved you, remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Here at Secrets in the Shadows, we shine a light on the darkest cases and honor the victims who deserve to be remembered. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you next time.